I never thought I'd own the Oakwood Country Club. Growing up, I watched my mother work there as a waitress, serving entitled members who treated her like she was invisible. Now, 15 years later, I stood in front of its imposing gates, holding the deed to the entire property in my hands. My name is Sophia Chen, and at 32, I had built myself up from a food truck owner to the CEO of Rising Star Restaurants, a chain of upscale Asian fusion establishments across 3 states. But to my stepfather Richard and his elite country club friends, I was still just Diana's daughter, the embarrassment who chose cooking over college. "Miss, the service entrance is around back," a security guard called out as I pulled up in my Tesla. I smiled, remembering how many times I'd heard those exact words growing up when I came to pick up Mom from her shifts. "I'm here for the annual members gala," I said, handing him my invitation. His eyes widened slightly as he read the name, but he waved me through without another word. I'd kept the acquisition quiet. Only the board and top management knew about the change in ownership. Tonight would be quite interesting. The main building of Oakwood Country Club looked exactly as I remembered. A sprawling Georgian mansion with perfectly manicured lawns and a fountain that probably cost more than my first food truck. I parked between a Bentley and a Rolls-Royce, straightened my designer dress, and headed inside. The foyer was already crowded with Springfield's finest. Doctors, lawyers, and old money families who'd been members for generations. I spotted my mother immediately, standing next to Richard in a group of his friends. She looked beautiful but uncomfortable, still not quite fitting in even after 10 years of marriage dim. "Sophia," Mom called out, waving me over. I could see Richard's face tighten. He hadn't wanted me here, but Mom had insisted. After all, it was her daughter's success they were supposedly celebrating tonight, even if the real reason for my presence was still a secret. "You actually came," Richard said, not bothering to hide his displeasure. He was tall and distinguished-looking in his tuxedo, but I could smell the whiskey on his breath. "I thought you'd be too busy with your, what do you call it, street food?" "Rising Star Restaurants," I corrected him calmly. "We just opened our 15th location last month." "Oh yes, your little restaurants," he sneered. "Not quite the same as being a member here at Oakwood, though, is it? This is real success, real class." Mom touched his arm. "Richard, please. We're here to celebrate Sophia's achievements." "Achievements?" He laughed, drawing the attention of nearby guests. "Diana, darling, running restaurants is hardly an achievement, not compared to what real business people do." He gestured around the room. "Everyone here built something meaningful. Your daughter sells noodles from glorified food trucks." I saw Mom's face fall, but before I could respond, the dining room doors opened. The maitre d' began directing people to their assigned tables. I already knew what was coming. I'd seen the seating chart this morning when I met with the manager. "Mr. and Mrs. Harrison, you're at table 1 in the main dining room," the maitre d' announced. Richard puffed up with pride, taking Mom's arm. "And Miss Chen," he consulted his list, "you're at table K, by the kitchen." Richard didn't even try to hide his smirk. "Well, at least you'll be close to where you belong, with the help." He steered my mother away, leaving me standing alone in the foyer. I made my way to table K, a small round table tucked into an alcove near the kitchen doors. The sounds of clattering dishes and shouted orders brought back memories of helping Mom when she worked here. I recognized a few of the servers. Some had worked here since I was a kid. "Water, miss." A young server approached, pitcher in hand. "Thanks, Tommy," I said, remembering him from my previous visits. His eyes widened in recognition. "Miss Sophia, they seated you here." I smiled. "It's fine. How's college going?" "Almost done with my business degree," he said proudly. "Your mom told me how you started with just one food truck. It inspired me to study entrepreneurship." "Keep at it," I told him. "You never know where you might end up." The kitchen doors swung open, and I caught a glimpse of the busy staff inside. I remembered those hot, chaotic nights when Mom would let me help prep ingredients after school. Back then, Richard had just started pursuing her, showing up at the end of her shifts to drive her home. He'd seemed different then, charming, generous, promising to give her the life she deserved. Things changed after the wedding. Suddenly, my culinary dreams were an embarrassment. He'd offered to pay for business school, law school, anything respectable. When I refused and bought my first food truck instead, he cut off all contact. Mom still visited when she could, but Richard made it clear I wasn't welcome in their world. The sound of clinking glasses drew my attention to the main dining room. Richard was standing, preparing to make a speech. My mother sat beside him, tension visible in her shoulders. "Welcome, fellow members," he began, his voice carrying across the room. "Tonight, we celebrate excellence. Look around you. Everyone in this main dining room represents the finest of Springfield society. We've worked hard to be here, to maintain the standards that make Oakwood special." There were murmurs of approval. I saw several people glance toward my lonely table by the kitchen. "Some people," Richard continued, his voice dripping with condescension, "think success means selling street food to college students. They don't understand what real achievement looks like." He raised his glass. "To Oakwood, where excellence still means something." The main dining room erupted in applause. I saw Mom staring at her plate, her face flushed with embarrassment. A few tables away, I recognized James Wilson, the club manager I'd met with earlier. He caught my eye and raised an eyebrow questioningly. I gave him a slight nod. James stood up, tapping his glass for attention. "Actually, Mr. Harrison, since you brought up the subject of excellence, I have an announcement to make." Richard frowned. This wasn't part of the evening schedule. "As some of you know," James continued, "Oakwood Country Club has been struggling financially in recent years. Membership has declined, and our facilities need upgrading. The board has been searching for investors to help modernize the club while maintaining its historic character." Now Richard looked concerned. As a board member, he knew about the club's financial troubles, but this announcement was unexpected. "I'm pleased to announce that we found not just an investor, but a buyer. Someone with both the resources and the vision to restore Oakwood to its former glory." James turned toward my table. "Would you like to tell them, Miss Chen?" The room went silent as I stood up. My heels clicked against the marble floor as I walked to the center of the main dining room. Richard's face had gone pale. "Thank you, James," I said, my voice steady. "As of this morning, Rising Star Hospitality Group has acquired Oakwood Country Club for $40 million. We'll be renovating the facilities, updating the membership policies, and most importantly," I looked directly at Richard, "ensuring that everyone is treated with respect, regardless of where they're seated." The silence broke into shocked whispers. I saw Mom's hand slide to her mouth, her eyes wide with surprise. Richard stood up so quickly he knocked over his wine glass. "This is impossible," he sputtered. "The board would never. You couldn't possibly." "The papers are signed," James confirmed. "Miss Chen's company now owns Oakwood Country Club." "Perhaps," I said, unable to resist, "you be more comfortable finishing your meal in the kitchen. I hear the help is excellent company." Richard's face turned purple. He grabbed Mom's arm, trying to pull her up. "We're leaving. Diana, come on." But Mom didn't move. For the first time in years, she looked at her husband without a trace of submission. "No, Richard. I think I'll stay and hear about my daughter's plans for the club." I saw something shift in her expression, pride mixed with relief, as if a weight she carried for years was finally lifting. She stood up, smoothed her dress, and walked over to join me. "Tommy," I called to the young server who'd been watching everything unfold, "please bring my mother's place setting to my table. She'll be dining with me tonight." As we walked back to table K together, Mom squeezed my hand. Behind us, I could hear Richard storming out. But for once, neither of us looked back. The night was far from over, but already I could feel the balance of power shifting. I hadn't bought Oakwood for revenge, though I had to admit, this moment was satisfying. I bought it because sometimes the best way to change a broken system is from the inside. Mom sat down across from me, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "How long have you been planning this?" "About 6 months," I admitted. "Ever since I heard the club was in financial trouble. Rising Star has been doing well, and I thought, why not?" She shook her head, laughing softly. "All those times Richard looked down on your little restaurants, and now you own his precious club. Our company owns 15 restaurants in 3 states, Mom. We're not exactly small anymore." I reached across the table to take her hand. "But none of it would have happened if you hadn't supported my dreams, even when it cost you peace at home." Around us, the other guests were still whispering, some looking scandalized, others seemingly impressed. James was fielding questions from board members, assuring them that yes, the deal was final, and yes, Miss Chen had the resources and experience to manage the club. "What are you going to do with it?" Mom asked. I smiled, thinking of all the plans I've been making. First, we're going to renovate the kitchen. The staff deserves better equipment and working conditions. Then we'll update the membership policies. No more of this legacy members only nonsense, and definitely no more seating people by the kitchen unless they request it. Tommy appeared with fresh champagne. Congratulations, Miss Sophia. Does this mean I might have a job waiting when I graduate? Keep your grades up, I told him, and we'll definitely talk. As we clinked glasses, I caught sight of my reflection in the window. I saw not just myself, but echoes of the teenage girl who used to help in the kitchen, dreaming of owning her own restaurant someday. That girl never imagined she'd end up here, owning the very club that once treated her mother like a second-class citizen. But the night was young, and I had a feeling there would be more surprises before it was over. Richard might have left, but his friends were still here, and they were about to learn that excellence comes in many forms, even from a food truck owner's daughter seated by the kitchen. The next morning, I arrived at Oakwood Country Club at 7 sharp, ready to begin implementing changes. The night before had ended late, with a mixture of congratulations from some members and cold shoulders from others. Mom had stayed by my side the whole time, her head held high despite the whispers. As I walked through the front entrance, no more service door for me, I found James waiting with a thick folder and a concerned expression. Miss Chen, we have a situation. He handed me a stack of papers. Mr. Harrison has been busy since last night. I scanned the documents, my jaw tightening. Richard had been reaching out to other board members, trying to challenge the sale. He'd even contacted the local newspaper, claiming the purchase was fraudulent. He's claiming I used inside information because Mom worked here, I said, shaking my head. Pretty rich coming from someone who's been trading stock tips with his golf buddies for years. There's more, James added. He's organized an emergency meeting of the legacy members for this afternoon. They're gathering at his house right now. I set the papers down on what was now my desk in the club's main office. Let them meet. The sale is legal and final. My phone buzzed. Mom calling. Sophia, Richard's gone completely crazy, she said without preamble. He didn't come home last night, and now he's got half a club members in our living room, plotting to take back Oakwood. Are you okay? I asked, suddenly worried about her being alone with him in this state. I'm fine. Actually, she paused. I'm packing my bags. I should have done this years ago, but I was afraid of being alone. Last night showed me I don't have to be afraid anymore. Pride and concern warred in my chest. Come stay with me. I have plenty of room. No, honey. I need to do this on my own. I've rented a small apartment near your downtown restaurant. It's time I stood on my own feet again. Before I could respond, I heard shouting in the background. He's back, Mom whispered. I have to go. Don't worry about me. The line went dead just as Tommy knocked on my office door. Miss Chen, the kitchen staff is here for the meeting you called. I pushed my worry for Mom aside and followed Tommy to the kitchen. About 20 staff members were gathered, looking nervous. Many of them had worked here for years, enduring low wages and poor treatment because jobs were scarce in our town. First order of business, I announce, is a complete kitchen renovation, new equipment, better ventilation, and proper break room facilities. The staff exchanged surprised looks. And while that's happening, you'll all receive paid training on the new systems we'll be installing. Plus, effective immediately, all full-time staff will have health benefits and paid vacation. Maria, the head chef who'd been at Oakwood for 20 years, stepped forward. Miss Sophia, is it true what they're saying? That Mr. Harrison is trying to void the sale? Let him try, I said firmly. I built my company from nothing, working 18-hour days and living on ramen noodles. I didn't get where I am by letting bullies push me around. Just then, my phone buzzed with a text from James. They're here. I walked out to find Richard leading a group of about 30 members through the front door. He stopped short when he saw me, his face reddening. You have no right to be here, he snarled. This club belongs to the people who built it, not some jumped-up food truck vendor. I stood my ground. Actually, it belongs to Rising Star Hospitality Group, which bought it legally and at well above market value. Your lawyer can confirm that if he'd like to waste money on legal fees. You think you can just walk in here and change everything? He stepped closer, trying to intimidate me. This club has traditions, standards. Yes, I agree calmly. Traditions like paying staff below minimum wage and looking the other way when members sexually harass the servers. Those traditions end today. A murmur went through the crowd. Some members looked uncomfortable while others glared at me. "You're destroying everything we built," Richard shouted. "No," I corrected him. "I'm building something better. Something that honors the people who actually make this place run. The staff who worked holidays while you enjoyed your meals. The servers who smiled through your insults. The kitchen workers who created perfect dishes while working with broken equipment." I turned to address the gathered members. Oakwood will remain a premium club. But with modern values, members will be accepted based on merit and character, not family names. Staff will be treated with respect and paid fairly. And yes, some things will change. Richard's face had turned an alarming shade of purple. "This is all because I seated you by the kitchen, isn't it? You're just a vindictive little girl trying to get back at her stepfather." "Actually," I said, my voice level, "I bought this club because it was a good business opportunity." The kitchen seating just made the reveal more satisfying. A few members actually chuckled at that, which only enraged Richard further. He jabbed a finger at my chest. "You think you've won? I made you, you ungrateful." "Mr. Harrison," James interrupted smoothly, "please remove your finger from the owner's personal space or security will escort you out." Richard looked around, suddenly realizing he was losing his audience. Several members were already drifting away, while others were watching with more curiosity than support. "This isn't over," he hissed before storming out. I waited until he was gone before addressing the remaining members. "My office is open to anyone who wants to discuss the club's future direction. And yes, we'll still have golf." That got a few more laughs, breaking the tension. As the crowd dispersed, James approached with another update. "The contractors can start the kitchen renovation next week," he said, "and membership inquiries have actually increased since last night. Apparently, some people like the idea of a more inclusive club." I nodded, thinking of Mom and her new apartment. "Times change, James. Even country clubs have to evolve." Looking around at the club that had once been a symbol of everything I couldn't have, I felt not triumph but determination. This wasn't about revenge, it was about transformation. And despite Richard's threats, I knew this was just the beginning. 3 weeks after taking over Oakwood, I was reviewing the renovation plans in my office when James burst in without knocking. "Turn on the local news," he said, grabbing the remote. Channel 5 was running a breaking story, and there was Richard standing at a podium outside his law firm. "Oakwood Country Club has been the victim of a hostile takeover," he was saying, his voice trembling with manufactured outrage. "My stepdaughter used privileged information obtained through her mother, a former employee, to undervalue and purchase this historic institution. But that's not all." He held up a folder. "I have evidence that Miss Chen's restaurant empire was built through questionable loans and health code violations. We're calling for a full investigation into Rising Star restaurants." I muted the TV, my hand steady as I picked up my phone. "Get me Sarah from legal," I told my assistant. Within an hour, my corporate legal team had assembled via video conference. "His claims are baseless," Sarah assured me. "The club's sale was completely transparent and Rising Star's records are immaculate. We can sue him for defamation." "No," I said, an idea forming. "That's exactly what he wants. A legal battle to drain our resources and stall the renovations. I have a better plan." I called Mom, who'd settled into her new apartment and found a job managing my downtown restaurant. "Did you see the news?" "Yes," she sighed. "Richard's trying to force me to sign an affidavit claiming you pressured me for information about the club's finances. I refused, of course. He didn't take it well." "Are you safe?" I asked, remembering his temper. "I'm fine. Actually," she paused. "I filed for divorce this morning. After his performance on TV, my lawyers said we have even more grounds for a restraining order." That afternoon, I called an emergency press conference on Oakwood's front lawn. Cameras rolled as I stood at a podium, the club's elegant facade behind me. "Mr. Harrison's accusations are false," I began, "but they raise an important point about transparency. So let me be transparent. I started Rising Star restaurants with a food truck and a $50,000 loan from selling my car. Every health inspection report, every tax return, every business deal has been documented and is available for review." I gestured to the staff lined up behind me. "What Mr. Harrison really fears isn't financial impropriety. It's change. Change like paying living wages to our dedicated staff. Change like opening membership to families regardless of their background. Change like ending the practice of treating service workers as invisible. Tommy stepped forward, now wearing a trainee manager's badge. Miss Chen has done more for staff in 3 weeks than the old management did in 20 years. We have health insurance now, and a clear path for advancement. Maria, the head chef, spoke next. The kitchen renovation starts Monday. For the first time, we'll have equipment that matches the quality of food we're expected to produce. I returned to the podium. As for Mr. Harrison's claims about privileged information, the club's financial troubles were well known to anyone who read the annual reports. I pay $40 million, nearly double the assessed value, because I believe in Oakwood's potential to become something better than an exclusive retreat for a privileged few. The reporters ate it up. By evening, the story had shifted from Richard's accusations to Oakwood's transformation into a modern, inclusive institution. Membership applications doubled, particularly from young professionals and families who previously felt unwelcome. But Richard wasn't finished. The next morning, I arrived to find him in the parking lot, handing out flyers to arriving members. "Your new owner is destroying our traditions," he shouted. "Look what she's doing to our beloved club." I walked past him into the building where James waited with more news. The contractor called. "Someone vandalized the kitchen last night. All the new equipment we'd staged for installation was damaged. The security cameras had mysteriously malfunctioned during the incident, but several wine bottles from Richard's private club locker were found empty at the scene." I thought of Mom, of all the years she'd spent walking on eggshells around this man's temper, of all the staff who'd endured his abuse because they couldn't afford to lose their jobs. "Call the police," I said. "File a report. And James, have my car brought around. I need to visit the Rising Star downtown location." Mom was there, expertly managing the lunch rush. She took one look at my face and guided me to her office. "Richard?" she asked. I nodded, filling her in on the vandalism. "He's spiraling," she said, "just like he did when his first wife left him. He can't stand losing control." "I won't let him win," I told her. "Not after everything he's done." Mom squeezed my hand. "You already won, honey. The moment you refuse to let him make you feel small. Everything else is just noise." She was right, of course. Richard's increasingly desperate attacks weren't the actions of a man in control. They were the last gasps of someone whose power was slipping away. But as I drove back to Oakwood, I couldn't shake the feeling that he had one last move to make, and whatever it was, I needed to be ready. The grand reopening of Oakwood was scheduled for Saturday evening, exactly 2 months after I'd bought the club. The renovated kitchen gleamed with new equipment, the dining room had been subtly modernized while maintaining its classic charm, and most importantly, the staff moved about with a new confidence that came from being treated with respect. I stood in my office, adjusting my dress and thinking about how far we'd come. Despite Richard's attempts to sabotage us, membership had actually increased. His own friends had started distancing themselves from him, especially after the police report about the vandalized kitchen went public. "Miss Chen," Tommy knocked on my door. "You need to see this." He led me to the main entrance, where a crowd had gathered. Richard stood swaying slightly, clearly drunk, wearing his old club blazer with the member's crest. "I'm here for the reopening," he slurred. "Still got my membership card right here." James stepped forward. "Mr. Harrison, your membership was revoked after the vandalism incident. Please leave before we call security." "You can't keep me out," Richard shouted. "I made this club what it is. I was here when you were nothing but a waitress's brat, serving drinks to pay your mother's bills." The crowd murmured uncomfortably. Several pulled out phones recording the scene. "Actually," I said, walking down the steps, "I think you'll find I'm the one who made this club what it is now. A place where people are judged by their character, not their family name or bank account." "Character?" he sneered. "You're nothing but a vindictive little girl playing dress up. You think these people respect you. They're laughing at you." "No, Richard," came a familiar voice. Mom emerged from the crowd, elegant in a blue evening dress. "They're laughing at you." Richard's face contorted. "Deanna? What are you doing here? You're supposed to be at home." "I haven't been home in weeks," she said calmly. "The divorce papers were delivered to your office yesterday. Did you even bother to read them?" "Divorce?" He stumbled forward. "You can't divorce me. I gave you everything, this life, this status." "You gave me a cage," Mom replied. "Our daughter gave me something better, the courage to leave it." Richard lunged toward her, but I stepped between them. "Security," I called out. 2 guards appeared immediately. "Don't touch me." Richard swung wildly, his fist grazing my cheek before the guards could grab him. Phones recorded everything as they restrained him, his club blazer tearing in the struggle. "Add assault charges to the restraining order," I said calmly, touching my stinging cheek. "And make sure everyone sees the real Richard Harrison, the man who claims to represent class and tradition." As security led him away, still shouting threats, I turned to the gathered crowd. "The reopening celebration will begin as scheduled in 1 hour. I hope you'll all join us in launching Oakwood's new chapter." Later that evening, as guests mingled in the renovated dining room, I stood on the small stage we'd set up for the occasion. The bruise on my cheek had been carefully concealed by makeup, but I knew tomorrow's local news would show the unedited footage of Richard's meltdown. "Welcome to the new Oakwood," I began. "Some of you have been members for decades. Others are joining us for the first time tonight. What unites us isn't wealth or status, but a commitment to creating a community where everyone, members and staff alike, is treated with dignity." I gestured to the staff, dressed in new uniforms and standing proudly. Our excellent team isn't hidden in the kitchen anymore. They're valued partners in making Oakwood exceptional. Mom squeezed my hand as I stepped down from the stage. Around us, members old and new chatted with staff members, admired the renovations, and enjoyed Chef Maria's innovative menu. "Look at what you've built," Mom said softly. "What we built," I corrected her. "I wouldn't be here if you hadn't supported my dreams, even when it was hard." "Miss Sophia," Tommy approached with a champagne tray. "Chef Maria wanted you to know the food truck is set up in the garden. Apparently, some members requested your original street food menu alongside the regular dinner options." I laughed. "Tell her to start with the spicy noodles. Those bought my first restaurant." As I watched Tommy hurry off, now a respected member of management rather than just a server, I felt a deep satisfaction. Richard had tried to humiliate me by seating me near the kitchen, never realizing that the kitchen had always been where I belonged, not as a servant, but as a leader who understood the value of every person who made this place run. "To new beginnings," Mom said, raising her glass. "To finding our place," I replied, "even if it's not where others think we should be." The sound of laughter and clinking glasses filled the club that had once been a symbol of exclusion and was now something else entirely, a testament to how much could change when you refuse to let others define your worth.